She was just telling everybody if they got a question, just put this emoji up, the clapping hands for any question. Phil will stop you because I can't see it. He's on the computer, so he will stop you. But yeah, if you're ready, you can start whenever you're ready, sir.
Okay. So first, man, I want to just say right on, Phil, I appreciate all of you guys at Macam for, wanting to hear my story, wanting to get me on, man. I appreciate it because y'all could be talking to anybody right now. So, second, I want to just say, man, y'all got a phenomenal program, man. I just really appreciate the program too. You know what I mean? The work you're doing, Phil, all of y'all brothers and sisters, man, UYT, all of y'all, man, getting them young brothers and sisters in there, teaching them how to play chess. That's love. So I'm gonna just start with that, and that's the real work right there. Because chess is life. And make a chess move is a literal thing that we need to be doing, thinking in our everyday struggles. And I'll be listening to you, Phil. When you be talking to the kids, shit, you be talking to me too, bro. So, so let me start with that. And I'm from Denver, Colorado. I'm born and raised here. I mainly grew up in the Park Hill area. I've lived in Green Valley Ranch. I've lived a little bit of a lot of places, but I love Denver. Growing up in Park Hill, I'm about to be 44 in August. So I remember when there was no such thing as gangs or anything like that. In the community, we had like BOYZs and we had brick cities on the east side, but we didn't really have like homicides or anything like that until maybe I was about 10 or 11 years old. But, making bike ramps in the middle of the street, playing 21, playing, murder ball or smear the queer in the yard, climbing roofs, doing backflips off fences and picnic tables and, the whole thing, man. Break dancing. We used to break dance in the Dahlia for money and, go buy Little Debbie's, a whole box of Star Crunch. My break dance name was Cereal, man, because that's all I used to eat is cereal morning, noon, and night. I still love all kinds of cereal. I be having to get off it though because it got too much sugar in it. But I had a normal Black African American childhood. We fought. Whoever let their mama gonna take first lick. You slap somebody's hand and you bomb on somebody. And you look up, you in a headlock or something. Break dance competitions. So we did that for a while. Then literally maybe around like the mid 80s. If you from Denver, then if you around my age, like everything, it went from literally like a Mayberry type of situation to Michael Asbury and Pooch and all those brothers, man, they started cripping, and the Crips were around before the Bloods, probably even about maybe a year almost or two. But the Crips kind of started flaring up. It was something new. Nobody knew what it was. And at that time, I was going to the summer camp at the YMCA because even though I grew up in Park Hill, but I grew up on the east side too, going to the summer camp. My whole family, Sherrod and Sherry and all them was all my peoples, you know what I mean? So I remember one day one of our counselors came running up the street talking about he's coming. I was maybe 10 years old. We like, who you talking about? And yeah, so we were asking who are you guys talking about? And she was like, Michael Asbury. I never heard of Psych Mike at that time. But then sure enough, about 5 minutes later, here he come with like 12 Crips. And they just came in the YMCA, was just housing everything, taking food, basketballs, whatever, chilling, hopped in the pool. They did whatever they wanted to do, you know what I mean? And that was like my introduction to more hardcore gangs versus the BOYZs and the brick cities, So after the Crips started, forming, that's when more violence pretty much started happening, mainly on the east side and in Park Hill. I don't know if anybody's listening remembers the golf club beatings, but the Crips were, beating people with golf clubs and and different gangs were trying to form to fight them, and kind of like what happened in Los Angeles. It's almost like a similar story, but on a smaller level here in our city. And then, pretty much, man, I stayed in school. I avoided gangs for a while, but pretty much when I was leaving middle school, I really, that's around the time, if you ain't the best hooper, Don't even try it. If you ain't the best football player, don't even try it. And I could hoop a little bit, and I could play a little football, but I wasn't good enough to be on 9 News with them brothers, man. You know, them brothers was on their way to the league. Dude, they had hoop dreams, and I didn't. You know what I mean? So, my dad was living in California at the time, so I would go to the Bay to go see him. He was living in Oakland. You know what I mean? So, I would go, go hang out in East Oakland with him. But really, man, I came to Denver, and when I come back to Denver, it was Bloods and Crips. The Bloods started forming in Park Hill, around the corner from where I grew up, and pretty much, man, if you left the community and you wasn't the Crip, I mean, the Crips was hard, man. Still are. They was beating people up. And this is just the truth, man. If you're a young African American from East Denver, and so, I wasn't even the Blood yet, but, we started wearing burgundy and wearing green. I was scared to wear red because the Bloods would beat you up too. You know what I'm saying? You were in the Blood. So, but, we was like taking sides because everywhere we went, because there was Crips in Montbello, like the Medina boys started forming, and then the Raymonds were out there. And there was Crips in Green Valley Ranch, you know what I mean? Crips in Aurora, like all up and down Colfax. So, we wanted to go to house parties and go mess with little girls and go hang out with other brothers and sisters we knew from other communities, but we couldn't just do it no more, man. It wasn't safe for us to do it. It was real. You really get stabbed or get jumped by 10 dudes and get your head kicked off. Like anything could happen to you. You get shot, you might get kidnapped or something. You know what I mean? So, so we started being wannabes. And just hanging out. Then we started going to more house parties with the real Bloods, and we knew them all anyways. And the Crips was fighting them, and they was fighting Crips, and the Crips was beating us up. We was fighting back, but we wasn't really winning no battles against no real gangbangers. And eventually got signed up, man. And, I got put on, and I started gangbanging. I became a Damu. And I did that for a while. I got shot in my back in the summer of violence in 93. I was partially paralyzed for 2 years. I had physical therapy, learned how to walk again. I could hoop and everything now, but I still have like issues with that because it cracked my pelvic bone, and it ruptured my spleen. It shredded my upper and my lower intestines. So
I got a quick question. See,
yes, sir.
So even before you started cripping, you knew that ahead of time, what kind of environment it was. You Bloods to beat you up, even if you wasn't a Blood for wearing red type shit, and the Crips was just already on some violent shit. What still made you pursue that route?
Just because everybody was doing it, because even before I became a Blood, everybody was on it. And I tried to stay the school route. I tried to, like I said, I could hoop a little bit, man, but them brothers was hooping, bro. They was in 8th grade dunking. You know what I'm saying? I was like, I don't got that. I'm not out. You got to be Iverson or something to be my size, man, to be balling with them dudes, man. Them dudes is a dunk on you and knock you down. I couldn't play football, man. Some of them brothers was in the 8th grade. Them dudes was 6'6", man. They was laying on top of me. I was like, man, get your ass off of me, bro. I can't be playing football no more. I'm cool on this. So, I didn't have that speed, man. I couldn't make it to the end zone in 4.4 seconds. So, if you wasn't like real good at sports, man, in the late 80s, early 90s, when NWA came out, man, we talking about DJ Quick. We talking about MC8. Fool, you wasn't a Crip or a Blood, you better be able to dunk that basketball or get in that end zone fast.
So looking at that too, what was your dad? What was your mom saying? What was their aspect on that? With you gangbanging, just open up and be like, all right, pops, I'm banging now. You know what I mean?
My dad was in Oakland, so I would go to California and see him. But my dad was a pimp. My dad was pimping, snorting dope, cooking dope. So when I go to California with him, he had all these pimps and players around it. He'd be in San Francisco or something. I'd be in East Oakland with my family members. Like we all up and down MacArthur. We all in people's backyards and all that kind of stuff. You know what I'm saying? So he didn't know. He was too busy trying to save himself. And my mom, now my mom's and she started messing up for a little while too. So now she's doing very well, but it was the 80s. It was I'm a product of the crack era. You know what I mean? So it wasn't that my parents didn't care. It was just that my parents were in their 20s dealing with gang banging pretty much too. All the same stuff our youths are struggling with now. Our parents struggle with it with the same thing back then too. There's nothing new under the sun.
I see YT, she had a question. What you got, YT?
Gee, so what made, can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
I can hear you.
Okay. So what made you, this is a goofy question, but what made you gangbang instead of be a pimp and following the shoes of your dad?
Well, maybe gangbang and following the footsteps of my dad?
No, what made you gangbang instead of like be a pimp and follow the steps, follow your dad, what your dad was doing? Why didn't you do that instead of gang?
I mean, like I was saying, it's like everybody was like, man, gangbanging was the thing. If you wasn't going to the league, you could get your manly respect in the gang, fighting and doing violence, and and that wasn't as hard to do. Plus, like, I'm gonna be honest, like, I never really been into like pimping and trying to like use women for money. Like, that's never been my thing. You know what I mean? I listen to Too Short and all that, but I sold my own dope. Like, I did my own stuff to get money when I was like in that lifestyle. I wasn't into, and this may sound cheesy to some, but I respect women. Like, I got a lot of homegirls from the community that's definitely still got my back, and they was doing more work and harder and about the action than some of the fellas were. You know what I mean? So a lot of the homegirls who I was around, they weren't gonna let me pimp them no ways. They would have shot me before they let me pimp them. So I figure I might as well try to get money with them a different way, because I ain't trying to fight them. You know what I mean? So, and plus, like, gang banging was fun. Like, there's a misconception about gangs. We got all these people who, gonna tell, they telling kids, first day you get to prison, they're gonna rape you in the butt and all that stuff. That's not true. Those things are not true. No one's probably gonna rape you at all when you go to prison, but you're gonna waste your life in prison. You might get your ass kicked in prison. Like, you may not get killed gang banging. I know people who got killed 2 weeks after they got put on. Literally got shot up 5-6 times. I know people who got 8-9 bullets in them. I've been shot a couple of times. That's the problem with gang banging. But a lot of gang banging is camaraderie, man. We was a family. Like, we was all runaways. Like, our parents were on drugs. Them was my bros. We rapped all day. We was gang banging, still riding bikes through the community till we started getting ran over by cars and all that kind of stuff. So it was almost like I didn't even, like, gang banging almost chose me, because, like I said, if you wasn't good enough at sports for brothers to say, you know what, he got some talent, we're gonna back off of him. I mean, man, cats will literally pull your pockets off your pants. Literally, they'll just walk up to you and just rip your pants and rip your pants off you. It's like, and you can't, what you gonna do when there's 5 bloods standing on the street corner and you walking through the holly? Some of them dudes will really knock your head off. They'll really hit you so hard it might break your jaw. I've seen it happen several times to people. So, and I like those dudes. They wasn't punching me in the face. So, and when I was leaving the community, we were getting jumped on. It was that serious. I mean, we couldn't go to the Aurora Mall. We couldn't go to Buckingham Square Mall. We couldn't be on Colfax. We definitely couldn't go to the East Side. We couldn't go to Montbello. We couldn't do nothing, so.
I got a question.
So, yeah.
Don't forget that thought, you know what I mean? Because you said gang banging was fun, you know what I mean? And then you said where you couldn't go, what you couldn't do. I'm looking at the shootouts and stuff like that. What part of that was fun?
Just the parties, man. The parties, the hanging out, just, like I said, those moments were not fun. That's when deep down in the back of your head, you saying, man, I really wish I wasn't in this right now, get shot at, or I really wish I wasn't. There were a lot of moments, even in prison, man, we had a brotherhood. We had some camaraderie. We laughed, we cried. You know what I'm saying? We watched shows. We used to watch All My Children, man, and Get Young and the Restless and be arguing about it. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, you know what I'm saying, Phil? So there was those moments where we just made something out of nothing. You know what I mean? And in the midst of that war, we found a camaraderie with each other, man. And we wasn't always getting shot at, you know, it wasn't every day. We had plenty of house parties. We had plenty of times where we was walking through the community or just hanging out, man. Just, they call it kickbacks now, but back then we was just chilling, just being at a homie's house, or you could just go to 5 different houses in the community and smoke weed and drink and have sex, whatever you wanted to do. And when you were young, you know, person who's dealing with trauma and you don't have a lot going for yourself, I mean, shit, that's a brotherhood right there. That's a family. We hung out for Christmas, Thanksgiving. I would leave my own family on Thanksgiving and Christmas. I'll go eat with them in the morning, and sure, I'm at the homie's house by 3, 4 o'clock. That's why I like holidays, not to even be with my family after a while, but to be with my homies.
I mean, you said, you know, when you was in prison, there was a brotherhood, a camaraderie that was built. You know, how's that lost from, how does it get lost, that brotherhood and camaraderie, you know, where Bloods and Crips can sit at the same table and break bread in prison, but then they get out and now they shooting at each other's heads out here in the world. So what happens when that camaraderie is lost? How do it get lost?
So that's kind of leading us into what the topic is for today about COINTELPRO, about the counterintelligence program. So yes,
before you keep going too, because we gonna go there. But I saw my man Day had a question too.
Okay.
When you was getting shot at, that ain't like ring a bell. Like I should stop doing what I'm doing and focus more on like school or something.
You know what? Like I said, I don't care how hard somebody is, man. When you got bullets past your head, and when you in the hospital with tubes all down your neck, any sane person is thinking like, man, I don't want to be doing this to myself. Like, obviously I didn't. That's why I stopped gangbanging. You know what I mean? But at that time, you know, guess who came to see me in the hospital when I did get shot in the back? It was all my homies. Like, you know, I got 50 aunties and uncles and all that. They love me, you know. But who was in my hospital room every night? Like, it was my homies who was coming. When I got out the hospital, who showed up to smoke some weed with me, man? It was 3 carloads of them, you know, like bringing me clothes, bringing me money. Like, all the women were calling me, you know. So that was the community at the time, you know. I'm proud of our youth now because I think our youth do have more options, and I think our youth are smarter than we were back then. Even the gangbanging youth are a lot more intelligent than how we were because there's more options and we're more advanced in the future. But did I want to change? Yes, but I didn't have nowhere to go at that time. So I was stuck. I was stuck in the system. I was stuck in that cycle. I had to go to prison to stop gangbanging. I probably couldn't have stopped on the streets. I don't know what would have happened. You know, it's all speculative, but I literally had to go to prison for years to say, man, I can't get out like this. If I didn't go to prison, I probably can guarantee you guys I'd be dead right now. My own homies would have killed me. We already see what happened a few years ago. So, you know, that's another bad part about gang. A lot of negative things to say about gangbanging too now. You know, it wasn't all fun. So let's not get it twisted. Did I answer your question, bro?
Yeah, you did.
Okay, cool. But was there anything else, Phil, or you want me to get into this COINTELPRO discussion?
Yeah, get into the COINTEL. Yeah.
Okay, so, you know, Phil asked about how can like Bloods and Crips and brothers, you know, fight back to back in prison and we eat together, we break bread, we laughing, we joking, we writing, we pen paling with each other's girlfriends and their sisters, all that. Then we get out and we fighting again and we shooting each other. When I say we, that's all of us. I'm not a gang member anymore, but you know, those brothers are us and we are them. Them is our brothers, our cousins, you know, them is our fathers even, you know. So you know, there's some brothers and sisters who by nature of keeping it real or being who they are, yeah, they get out and they keep it cripping or being the blood and they kind of fall off from the communication. But then some of those brothers, especially a lot of older ones that are my age, they work for the police. And that's why some of the brothers are there is an incentive for them to remain crippin' and to tell young brothers, oh, we don't fuck with them brothers over there, fuck Park Hill or fuck Montbello. Some of them brothers are making a lot of money, maybe $5,000 a month, $3,000 a month, $2,500 a month. It depends on their level of activity with the FBI, with the ATF, with local police departments. The Denver Police Department has a very good relationship with the FBI. The FBI has a huge station right in Stapleton, just east of Quebec Street, with over 400 agents. And a lot of our founders of Bloods and Crips in Denver who are still around, who are still some of those older Bloods who are in Park Hill, telling them youngsters to, start wars on the east side and go chip somebody and all that. It's confirmed that they work for the FBI, they work for the Denver police, and they're still gangbanging. And that is a new counterintelligence program that is being ran out of Denver, Colorado, out of Los Angeles, out of Chicago, out of New York City. There are several cities. It actually has a name. This is not just me doing activist talk. The name of this program is called Project Safe Neighborhoods. They have since moved the counterintelligence program removed it from the FBI because of several assassinations of Black leaders from the 60s up until present day, actually. And they started a program through the ATF. It's called Project Safe Neighborhoods.
How did it get to this point though? Because I thought, you say that they're known informants. If they're known informants, how come the known active gang members who's Crips and Bloods let them continue to walk the streets? I thought snitches get stitches or snitches get ditches. You know what I mean? I thought that was the case.
And right now in 2020, snitches get riches. And that's facts, so, and I'm gonna be honest, Phil, like I can't speak to, I don't know why these Bloods and Crips, I don't gang bang anymore. I'm not involved with those conversations. You know what I mean? I put it on my Facebook page. I've called them out by name. Some of you guys have read it, that's definitely, it's helped me and it's hurt me because people were like, man, T-Rob, he be going left on everybody. That fool's nuts. But why am I nuts for, when I got paperwork on somebody and he's telling some Bloods to go kill some Crips, and I'm like, this fool work for the FBI and y'all over in the Holly hanging out with him? Knock it off. Instead of everybody beating them up and doing something to them, it seemed like everybody wanted to beat me up and do something to me, so I don't know why, because Bloods and Crips aren't the same anymore. We're not dealing with the same type of gangsterism that we were in the 80s and the 90s. Like, I remember back in the day, if a Crip shot a Blood and we knew that Blood told on that Crip, the Crip sent us paperwork, that fool better not show up in the Holly or at nobody's house, man. Even if it was a Crip that was killing Bloods and we didn't have no relationship with that brother, if he sent some paperwork saying that somebody told on him and they showed up, we were gang members. We was gonna get them. We didn't play none of that. And the Crips will do the same. Like, nowadays, man, I don't know why they make those decisions. I'm not telling nobody to do nothing violent to nobody, but I mean, that's why some people shouldn't be in gangs, because if you ain't ready to be violent and regulate that kind of stuff, maybe gang banging ain't for you. Like, you should probably, get involved with working with the youth, get your life just straight, go to church, go to the mosque. But if you out here hanging out with informants, you probably should tuck that flag, man, and just go on about your business. So that's what's happening.
I got a question. So you're saying that there's like basically informants that work with the FBI that comes out and start drama and stuff so that we can kill each other? And
Yes.
That's what's been going on. So when you said that kind of how I put in perspective. So what could we do? Like, how could we act on that? Like, that's crazy that that's the actual program.
Okay, so you broke up. The last part of you broke up.
What could we do to, like, is there anything that we do So what can we do in the community to acknowledge and to like see how we could change that? Like that's messed up because ultimately they're like having us become enemies and we're killing each other and it's a way for them to like knock us off and control the population.
Yeah, absolutely. So, you know, man, the best thing I say is stay away from. If you know what business somebody got 48, man, and you still cripping, or you a blood and you hanging out with somebody's 20-year-old's daughter or son. You know, like that don't even make no sense. Like, oh, them is the little homies. What is you talking about, man? That's a youth, homie. You need to be mentoring that child. You know what I'm saying? That's a young brother or sister, homie. They ain't, you know, it's like, you know, we need to get away from them kind of brothers and sisters, man. Like, if somebody's still a Crip or a blood, cool. Like, you know, not everybody who's still a blood or Crip and they older work for the FBI. That's not what I'm saying. I got plenty of blood and Crip homeboys that I'm gonna talk to today, and they know exactly what and who I'm talking about too. But they also know how I feel about a lot of people who they sometimes commingle with too. Hey, bro, like I don't mess around with nobody who I know is hurting our youth, is using their gang as a weapon to destroy other Black folks, and we got the police murdering us. I'm not gonna get on the live and say we need to do nothing bad to nobody. I mean, but I will say this: I'm just gonna get away from them. Now, if you gang banging, I shouldn't have to say what you need to do to nobody. That's what gangsters do. But that's why I got away from gangs, because I didn't want to be fighting all the time. I didn't want to have to be having to hurt people, you know. So I want to work with kids and stuff. So I can't answer that question all the way, YT, other than saying we just need to like start forming, you know, better bonds with each other, and we need to be more positive with each other. And we need to just, when we see people who's trying to agitate violence or negativity towards, you know, leaders and amongst our youth, we need to push them away instead of us being afraid of the gang. Like the gang needs to be afraid of the community. And I will say that, you know.
Boom, and drop the mic on that one. I'm sorry. This is Toy Massey. I'm sitting here listening and my eyebrows going up. And I'm probably old enough to be on here and actually say, coming out of Detroit, gangs and, you know, gang violence, it's not new. What's new is the rules. You know, we had rules. You didn't bring that around the schoolyard. You didn't bring that around the hood with the neighbors. And so I'm loving you saying, you know, the paradigm needs to shift. You know, we have given way too much control to an entity that's not brand new, but we've allowed them to function in our communities in such a way that, you know, we are afraid and our children are being recruited in some ways that are only going to be negative and destroy us as a people and a community in the end. We got much love for all of our folks. But I'm so behind you on that statement, and say it again and say it loud. We are to be in control. You don't get to come in here taking my kid and my daughter and my son, and I'm sitting by and saying nothing. I love you for that.
Man, thank you. Because well, see, my thing is this: if blood stands for brotherly love, overcoming oppressive destruction, then where's the bloods at when this cop just literally sat on this man's neck for 5 minutes and murdered him while people were saying you're murdering him? Where's the bloods meeting at? Where we would have meetings at Martin Luther King Park, named after Martin Luther King, talking about murdering our own cousins and brethren in other communities that we grew up playing football and basketball with. But ain't nobody had no blood meetings about this man getting lynched in the street. Where's the Crips? If Crip stands for community revolution in progress, then where's the revolution? Like, why is killing the blood? Why does that make you a real Crip? What you know? What about everybody else killing us? Like we need to change the narrative. You know, I'm not against Bloods and Crips. I'm against the working for racist police departments that are slaughtering Black people. There is a genocide happening to Black people, and especially young Black men. You know, and I feel Crips and Bloods right now are helping orchestrate a genocide on their own people. It's a fratricide that is happening to Black people. You know, I know, you know, we got our super woke folk who'll get mad about the term Black on Black crime, but yeah, Black on Black crime happens. You know, the racism in that is they use it against us because they don't want to talk about white on white crime and white on everybody else crime. because white folks kill each other and they kill everything moving, even the earth, even the water, even the air. And there's also white people fighting other white people to save it too. But that's my problem with Crips and Bloods. Y'all got leaders that are in the Crip and Blood gangs that are literally, it's known that they work for the FBI. It's known that the Denver police are very racist right now towards people of color, and they are working for the Denver Police Department, and they are still orchestrating gang meetings, not about brothers and sisters getting killed by the police, not about education justice, not let's raise some money for Malcolm, not none of that. They having meetings about hurting other Black people. So,
Well, why?
Why? Because because obviously there is a systematic desire to keep the Black community disorganized, discombobulated, living in fear. And it's not just the Black community, it's happening in the Latino community. They have racist white informants who go to white communities, who go to Lakewood, they go to Douglas County, and they tell white people, we don't like niggers. And these white people who probably is not even tripping on Black people, is like, why don't we like niggers? Because niggers are dumb, niggers are this. Niggers, they're this and they're that. The next thing you know, they got 20 young white dudes who are radicalized and they got AKs and they ready to kill us. This has been happening to communities of color and poor white communities since the inception of the United States of America, and it's still happening to us to this day. I don't know why they want to kill us, YT. Like, I don't know why.
But the biggest.
So other than, man, we're powerful people, man. We, look at what we created out of our poverty. Look at what we've done in slavery and getting beat and getting slaughtered and lynched. Look at what we've still created. Look at how we still here. We're powerful people, man. Like, I love my people. I'm proud of my people, so racism, that's why they want to kill us. There's a racist agenda and it's happening before our eyes, and anybody who speaks on it, we're in danger.
But we got to stop participating in it. Don't you think, Terrance? We have to stop participating in it. We have to stop giving them the tools. We have to stop giving them the leeway. We have to hold our own people accountable. We used to police our own community, and not by killing one another, right? And not by, and so if love is what prevails, and Black people are the most loving people in the world, that's why we always find ourselves on the wrong side of the do right with the people who don't do right by us. But at the end of the day, we've got to become more strategic and more honest about demanding that same excellence that you speak of, right? We came here as a free people who were enslaved. We were raped, we were lynched. We did better in many ways when we had less going for us. We had more property. We owned more businesses. The worst thing probably happened to us was desegregation, truth be told, but integration. But at the same time, how do we leverage it now? And that's why I'm loving your message. Thank you, Phil. He texted me and told me I better jump on this call. But, how do we use this message of yours to further influence, young and impressionable minds? There's a sister named Dr. Donna Y. Ford out of Vanderbilt. She was at that time. I think she's out of Chicago now. But she did her whole PhD dissertation around gifted and talented. And she said that the definition of gifted and talented was exclusionary of us. She said there's something gifted and talented about a young Black guy who can go into a community with no real credentials and yet command a force of hundreds to do his will. That is a talent. That is a gift. How do we harness that and shift it?
So we're seeing it happen right now with programs like Malcolm. We've seen it happen with programs like Prodigal Son Initiative, like with the camouflage movement. And it's a known fact. There's actually several media sources coming out to with evidence that with our camouflage movement here in Denver, because we have Bloods and Crips wearing camo together, not murdering each other, partying together, that the FBI, the Denver police, and the ATF purposefully sent informants to slander me, slander other participants, and they sent a violent group of young men to hurt me, and it ended up destroying the community for some years. So Park Hill's still recovering from my incident. We have been harnessing it. You starting to see more brothers who have the mindset of the Bloods and the Crips, or who are even still affiliated with Bloods or Crips, or who are warriors, you know, not even just Bloods and Crips, just, you know, vice lords, disciples. So not everybody from the community were in gangs too, you know, but we're starting to see more stronger Black men and women who saying, you know what, man, we don't get down like that, and we're gonna be over here with these babies. And that's the answer. The answer is mentorship. The answer is love. You know, to some people that sounds corny, but the reason why I ask any Blood or Crip why they joined the gang, and they say that's where the love was. You know, like, you know, love is real. Hate is real. You know, like, these are real emotions that you could feel somebody's hateful energy, even if they don't punch you or say nothing to you. When they leave the room, you'll be like, man, I don't like that person, just because of the energy that they let off of them. You know what I mean? So we need to start understanding, you know, if the Bloods is treating your son better than you treat him, if you yelling and screaming and throwing pots at your son when he come home from school, and then he leave the house and his homies is up the street and they smoking bud and they laughing with him and telling him how good he hoop, then guess what? Your son's gonna be a Blood. If your boyfriend is acting funny with your son and he don't feel comfortable in his own house, and he go up to Fuller Park, or he go walk down Wells Street, and some Crips is like, "What's up, little nigga? Come over here, boy. I like your shoes, homie. Like, how you doing in school, cuz?" Then guess what's gonna happen to your son? Your son's gonna be a Crip, and probably rightfully so. You know, so once organizers can get organized in this city, that's when we gonna really start seeing a decrease in these shootings and in these beatings. You know, we always talk about Bloods and Crips beating each other, but we don't talk about the domestic violence that's involved with gang banging, the $8 phone call.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Say it again.
The animal abuse,
Yep.
the child abuse that's involved, the depression, the anxiety,
the sex trafficking, of young girls, and survival sex.
Because I'm gonna say this: gangs in the 80s and 90s was fun. Gangs ain't. It don't look fun to me nowadays. Gangbanging don't look fun. Gangbanging looks like a lot of drug abuse and some shootings. So, you know, we got to show more love to the youth, man, than negative peer groups. Like, how was a negative peer group who raps about being negative, they brag about being the most negative, how they showing our kids more love than us? That's evil. It doesn't make sense. We need to come away from that mentality. We need to have real strong Black men and women who aren't afraid to go forth. Even the Bible says the violent take it by force. So that's what we need to do. When I got that area in the Holly, when it got burned down in 2008, I went and got a land use agreement, and I was in charge of the whole Holly. And then we raised that money for that youth center. Not white people, my organization raised that money. We built those basketball courts over there. Now, not nobody built that for us. We chose to do that. And when the incident happened to me, when the police sent them to me, guess what? I'm on the phone with y'all right now. I'm doing this interview. I beat my case because that was my property. That was my property when them brothers came home. The police wasn't even allowed on my property.
But you know what? Here's the thing. See, you have a business model and a business mind. What you did at that time was unprecedented. The voices and the attention that you were able to garner from the city's leadership, people who were identified as elected officials, that's unprecedented. So you have a story to tell. The past, whatever it turned out to be, sometimes God uses you for a real reason so that you can actually tell this story. But I think it's time. You know, it's time. It's time to help them understand the value of property, the commodity that never loses value. It's time to, maybe, and how do we support you in doing that? But really to educate in real time. Because of your journey, you have the credibility to gain an ear that somebody like myself might not. Oh, Miss Toy, she a nuclear engineer, physicist, she don't know nothing about these streets. Okay, that's not true, but you have a different ear. How do we work together to change that narrative? I could take your whole day on here. I'm sorry, y'all, if y'all trying to talk.
So I'm gonna answer the first part. So yes, I did have the ear of some elected officials and some people at that time, and it was a unique time. But we have a black mayor today.
Because some of our viewers don't know the situation behind what you're speaking on. You know what I mean? So can you explain the events, what happened to the situation and the outcome? You know what I mean? Because some people don't know who T-Rob is. You know what I mean?
So so what we're kind of discussing right now is taking that energy, that negative energy, with gangs, and really like getting organized and building a positive force behind it. And we're talking about pretty much the Holly Square situation in 2008. As you know, some Crips burned down the Holly. All the Bloods were hanging out there. The city of Denver left it sitting there. It looked like Castle Grayskull, just sitting there for like a year. There were people having sex in there. There were people selling drugs in there. There were homicides happening all around there, shootings all the time. Everything was happening. So I got an office across the street from this location, and the senator also moved into the building. I refurbished the building so it could be habitable for community use. It was the dilapidated building that the city wanted to destroy, and I said, no, we're going to keep that. We're not going to turn the Holly into a whole bunch of burnt out parking lots. Just kind of how what's happened to the south side of Chicago, what's happened to Detroit. You know what I mean? Like, so I was like, no, man, I've been to some of those places. I don't want to see that. So we just gonna save the building. If the roof is leaking, then we're gonna fix this damn roof. If there's squirrels living in the wall, we're gonna get the squirrels out, but we're gonna be in this building. So we opened up this building. I got the rubble removed off of there, do some advocacy, and then they sold the land to the Urban Land Conservancy. The Urban Land Conservancy left it with huge gaping holes in the concrete, the foundation slab that the building sat on. And we're talking about like 3 acres. It was a huge concrete area in the middle of the Holly. We had literally 50 Bloods, sometimes literally hanging out, whooping across the way, having shootings. Crips was right through there, shooting at it with Uzis. It was just a mess over there. People were twisting their ankle, walking through the rubble. So I ended up going to the Urban Land Conservancy, and I told them it's a disservice what you're doing to my community, leaving that like that. Let me be in charge of it. If somebody gets shot over there, if somebody get punched in the eye, they could just sue me. So they gave me a land use agreement for $1, and they laughed about it and said, somebody is going to get shot over there and you're going to be liable for it. And what I ended up doing was going to all the Bloods and Crips and just letting them know, hey man, I got this area over here. I'm going to put some playgrounds, some basketball courts and all that. And I need y'all support. I need y'all to help me, and they didn't help me in the sense of raising no money or nothing. They helped me by keeping the activity south of 33rd and letting me do my thing. You know what I mean? So we got the concrete poured in to where it was flat. Nobody had to twist their ankle. And then I raised $300,000, and we put the basketball courts over there. We put a soccer court, we put 2 playgrounds and the gazebos, and we turned it into a park area. Then I had somebody do a depiction of what the youth center would look like if we got a youth center over there to help absorb some of that negativity. And I called the Boys and Girls Club. I gave him the idea. He pitched it to his board, and Libby Anschutz, whose father is Phil Anschutz, who built those hospitals on Colfax and Aurora, the Anschutz Medical Center. When Libby Anschutz heard about the idea, her, Ted Harms, who runs the Anschutz Foundation, and John Aragoni, who was the CEO of the Boys and Girls Club, they met me in my office. I showed them the depiction. I went and showed them my park development with the Peace Corps, and they seen all the Bloods hanging out across the street. They seen the whole thing. And I said, we need a youth center over here. We're going to die. These kids are going to be dead. And I talked to them for maybe half an hour, and 2 weeks later, Mr. Aragoni came to my office with tears in his eyes saying they're going to give us $5 million to build the youth center, which is still actually one of the best youth centers in the nation right now. You know, so, and it costs $2 a year, and they feed them babies dinner every night. They do homework. They got computers over there and all of that, you know. So, you know, we took control of our own destiny, and we were trying to do the same thing on the 5 Points too, bring a Boys and Girls Club over there. But then with eminent domain, instead of getting a Boys and Girls Club, we ended up with high-rise apartments full of, I don't even know who lives in them. No, nobody I know live over there near downtown. But you know, there are other Black men and women who have the relationships with elected officials. Hell, our mayor he's Black and he's from East Denver. So yeah, I had the ear of politicians and the ear of funders. But we, you know, the mayor alone, his own personal salary is $180,000 a year. He cashing $15,000 every 30 days after taxes. He could do it his own self. I've never heard about Michael Hancock making a donation for nothing. You know, if he has, then shame me, make me look stupid. I can take that. I'll apologize to him. Chauncey Billups did not give $1 to the Holly Square development. Not even $1. The last time I seen Chauncey Billups, he pulled up in a red Maybach and he was hanging out with the same bloods who work for the FBI, who've admitted to working for the police. It's paperwork where they have admitted it. He was hanging out with them, you know. So Chauncey didn't give me $1 for them basketball courts. I asked him for $60,000. He told me his people told him not to do it. Whoever his people is, I'm like, that's your money. You was the one shooting free throws at 98% and shit. My people said, no, buddy, but you hanging out with some informants. So that's the kind of leadership we've been dealing with in Denver. I had nothing unique other than, you know, having the ear of those people, but these are the people who I had the ear of. Like, I just scraped together what I could, man, to put that stuff together. And it set an example of what we could do if they just helped us even a little bit and let us be our own leaders. Like, you know, we're not children. Like the Black race right now, we're getting treated like children, and we're getting treated like children who our parents actually abuse and hate. They hate us. You know what I mean? They want to beat us. So that's what we need to do. You know, we need to get involved with real estate. We need to get these offices, get a lease, get a land use agreement, buy the office. We need community co-ops. The Urban Land Conservancy is just a nonprofit. It's just a nonprofit with a board of directors, and they raise money to buy land. That's what they do. They don't do after-school programs. They don't buy nobody lunch. They buy $20 million properties. They build buildings. We can do that. I've done that. It's possible. I can't do that with 10 Crips and 15 Bloods who work for the police, you know, turning the community against me, and people are afraid.
Did he
But
freeze
it's possible.
All right. I got a few questions myself, but I saw that Aja Simone, she had a question earlier. You know what I mean? Go ahead, Aja, ask your question.
So like, okay, when it comes to like problems within our community and like Bloods and Crips and stuff like that, like you're very, I guess you can say knowledgeable about like, you know, different stuff that goes on and like what we should do and shouldn't be doing and like different stuff like that. So how long did it take you to like, I guess, enlighten yourself on the problems within the community and the different problems between Bloods and Crips and stuff like that? And like, what age were you when you realized like, okay, this isn't what it's cut out to be?
So, you know, I know about all the issues only because I was really involved, and I have different people who, you know, I still, you know, do community work with, or, you know, who I grew up with who are Bloods and Crips, and we still talk to each other. And so that's how I kind of know these days what's still going on, because I'm really from that culture. And so people still confide in me, or they talk to me about things. A lot of stuff I don't know because there's so many different cliques and crews, and You know, a lot of these guys are younger kids. They're 16, 17. I'm almost 44. So some stuff I don't know about too, I'm learning, you know, so I can be more effective if some around those issues come up. When I was a youth, I started realizing, you know, being the blood and gangbanging wasn't all it was cracked up to be. Probably like I was probably maybe, it took a few years actually. When I started realizing, you know, bloods were robbing each other, bloods were murdering each other, shooting each other over women, you know, somebody forget they point on the dice game, and, you know, somebody snatched the money, and, you know, somebody slapped this dude, you know, and I'm like, we all homies, and this dude go get a gun, and he come in and shoot him with an AK and shoot his leg off almost, you know, so I've been around all those things, you know, and I was like, man, like, I don't even see Crips that much, because we weren't crossing, you know, west of the boulevard, and Crips was coming to Park Hill and only to hurt each other, you know, in the 80s and 90s. So I started thinking, I was like, man, like, y'all bloods is gonna end up killing me before the Crips do. My own homies. I was afraid to get in the car with some of my own friends, you know, and I was 17, you know. I was like, they'd be like, let's roll over here. I was like, nah, I'm cool. I'm gonna just ride with the other homies or something. Like, I started being afraid of my own homies, some of them more than I was Crips, you know. So I knew early on, that's what kind of led me to not gangbanging anymore, because deep down in my heart, I knew some of these guys got love for me, but there's too many who don't. You know what I mean? The days of all the fun and the love and the hugs and the barbecues and the laughter, ain't nobody laughing about nothing no more, man. We going to prison, we on parole, this dude's on paperwork, this dude, he already killed 2 of our friends, and we know he killed them, and he's still hanging around, running around, he want to come see me. Like, nah, bro, I'm cool, like, right on, homie, thanks for the love, but you can't come over to my mama's house. You know, it got to the point where I didn't want nobody who was in my gang to know where I lived. And when I started realizing that, I was like, man, I ain't even from the gang no more. I can't even hang out with y'all no more. Man, y'all gonna hurt me. Somebody gonna do something to me. So, and that was because of the violence and the trauma, you know, and some of those dudes I do talk to this day, man. Like, we laugh it off, but back when we was gang banging and back when they were, you know, living that life and I was living that life, we couldn't be around each other, man. We didn't mean each other no good. So, you know, I just keep my ear to the street. That's it. I try to keep my ear to the street the best I can. And I've been knowing for a long time that being in that lifestyle was not for me.
Mm-hmm. I got a question. Go ahead, Dede. Go ahead, Tank. I'm gonna let you take off first, man.
All right. So my question is, would you like seeing how Chauncey Billups didn't donate any money to you, knowing that he's from Colorado? How did that like put your view on other athletes that are from communities like ours and that don't donate and don't do anything to help give back to the people that they grew up around?
I mean, I do have a problem with that. So that's a twofold answer. The first answer, I'm gonna say it for them. No, they don't owe nobody nothing. That's them running the football. That's them shooting the hoops. That's their money. They're grown men. We understand these things, you know. But you know, it's hard being the black man that's from an impoverished community. When I see what's happening on the south side of Chicago, and I know how many NBA stars have come out of the south side and the west side of Chicago. I mean, we're talking about hundreds by now. You know, I when I go to Watts, when I'm riding through Compton, and I know how many movie stars and rappers and football players and NBA people have come out of Compton, out of Watts, you know, out of Inglewood, you know, and they brag about it. You know, they can't wait to get on ESPN and talk about it. But then I'm riding up and down Crenshaw, and there's nothing. There's nothing going on for the youth. You know what I mean? I go through Inglewood. I'm in the jungles. I'm at Gilliam Park. It's the city of Los Angeles putting up basketball hoops at Gilliam Park. You know, that kind of stuff. So same here in Denver, man. We don't have as many, you know, brothers and sisters with that kind of capital and that kind of fame as Chauncey Billups. But, you know, Chauncey knows how I feel about him. I'm very, very public about the fact that, you know, if you're going to say you're the king of Park Hill, then where are you at when the most devastating incidents happen to the community? Where's the advocacy from these men when the police are on camera murdering Black men? We're not hearing nothing from these men. These are our so-called community leaders. You know what I mean? You know, but they're doing interviews. They're on ESPN. They're pulling up in red and blue Maybachs. Okay, that Maybach is dope, homie. Like, the Lord has blessed you tremendously, you know, but I mean, don't say you the king of the East Side or nothing if you can't do for the youth, you know, and then that's just a fact. You know, maybe Chauncey does. Maybe he gives hundreds of thousands of dollars secretly. I've never heard nobody, because cats do talk. You give somebody $100,000, it's gonna leak. I've never heard about it. I know he's doing a restaurant with his name on it on the 5 Points. Sounds good. Good for you. You're blessed. But remember that arson that happened. You know how many youth we lost from the East Side and Park Hill? When that arson happened in the Holly, a literal war happened. We've had several wars in Denver between Bloods and Crips that are worse than several two individual gang communities in Chicago and Los Angeles. We've lost hundreds of kids to gun violence in this city. We just don't have a huge city with the amount of people these other cities have. You know, where are they at? So, yep, it's your money. You don't owe it to nobody. But if you're using the back of the community to keep you protected and you bragging about being from there, then in a sense you do. You owe the community. You don't owe Terrance personally, but you definitely owe the community. So the whole community benefited off of that development we did in the Holly. And it broke my heart to see Chauncey hanging out with known informants and giving them money and prestige, but he couldn't help with the youth. We had 400 kids come through that Particle Sound program. 400 kids came through that program. And many of those kids are doing excellent today. And we struggled many times. We struggled, man, trying to get them kids to Waterworld and get them out of the 5 Points and get them out of the Holly. Man, that stuff costs money. That stuff ain't for free. Everybody ain't always giving you something just because you got a 501c3 letter. They like, cool, it's still gonna cost this much. We'll give you a discount, but it's gonna be $800 to take these kids to Waterworld for a day. It's gonna be $1,000 to take them to this place to go fly these airplanes. You know, that stuff is not easy. You know, so I got an issue with athletes, actors, rappers, any Black person who's a business person who's making millions of dollars, while Black people still to this day are saying we are struggling due to systemic racism when we've ran billions of dollars through the community with people who we admire and look up to. That we need to change that too. That's just my thoughts. Now, you know, you ask somebody else, they may say something else about that.
I got all right. So going back to, you know, I heard you say Chauncey owed the community, and I heard you say, you know, when I asked about snitches getting stitches and stitches getting riches, I mean stitches getting whatever, and then you said nowadays snitches get riches. So how much of that, you know, with the gang banging that's happening now, how much of that do, you know, the OGs, how much do the ex-gang members take responsibility for? Because there's a reason why these dudes right now is acting the way that they are moving, because a lot of the OGs, you had said it yourself, you just stopped dealing, you got away from people. You know what I mean? You didn't be around people. You know what I mean? So with that absence, that's what I believe encouraged that snitches getting stitches and snitches getting dapped up and loved in the hood and stuff like that still to this day. So how much of that do you personally take responsibility for?
For the snitches, I don't take no responsibility for their decisions.
For the whole environment, for that whole culture shift in gangbanging, because there's no leadership. That's why they're acting. That's why the whole culture shift is what it is, because the leadership has fell off. How much of that do you take ownership of?
I don't know, man. It may sound selfish, but I'm not going to take no ownership in that, Phil, only because, you know, what can I do, man? I'm one person, man, and I was a pretty tough enough gangbanger. But what can one Black man do against 20 informants? Like, I'd be dead. Like, look at what they did. They sent 60 youth to jump on me and kill me. It's on camera. Like, I couldn't even get 60 youth sometimes to go hiking. You know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of power there, man. I'm a victim of COINTELPRO. Like, even with the shift in me stopping gangbanging, like, the reason why I stopped gangbanging, because we already have 50 snitches from the community. We already had a bunch of rapists. I wasn't about to be in no house with nobody on Thanksgiving, and I know that you don't rape the homegirl and you suspected of molesting your girlfriend's kids. I'm not gonna do that. Other homies was like, cool, man, you tripping, T. I'm like, what? And this fool's a child molester. Y'all tripping, and he's an informant. So I left because it was already there. Feel like me leaving wasn't the start of the demise of the informant era. Me leaving, I left because of that reason. You know what I mean? And tried to take some brothers with me. Some came, some didn't. Some didn't like the move. They cut me straight off as soon as I said I ain't banging no more. I was a second generation gangbanger, so I came into the gangs already under the influence of other bloods who have way more power than me. They were more violent than me, more handsome, more intelligent, buffer. They had it flat going on, man. And the gang was already going the direction that these men wanted it to go before I was even thinking about being a blood, So I'm not being selfish and saying I don't take no ownership in that. I'm just telling you the truth. I was never in control of the bloods like that. There was always one of these guys who I've identified as being an informant. They've always been bloods before me. They've been bloods after I stopped banging. And they've always had the keys to the car. Even when I thought I had the keys to the car, they had the keys, so.
Look, this is what we're gonna do, man. I feel like we need a part 2. You know what I mean? I definitely feel like we need a part 2 because we didn't even get into the skirts of, what happened the day before your event. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
well, we can go part 2.
Details into, the whole, how you survive the COINTELPRO. So let's go ahead and schedule a part 2. You know what I mean? Because I want to respect your schedule. And I want to respect everybody else's time as well.
Hey, so but
well, are you
what was that?
So, I'm saying if we got a few questions, I do gotta go help out with a funeral. My a family member of mine passed, but people tuned in and they have questions right now, man. I'm down to answer a few more questions if need be, if they're lined up. But if not, then we could definitely schedule a part 2. I'm down with all of that, of course.
I would lean, more towards the part 2 just to give us more time, because I know I got a list of questions still myself, and it's going to require some thought. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so, no, let's do it.
Yeah, let's go ahead and schedule a part 2. What do y'all think?
I like the idea of a part 2, but I wanna say this before you get off the phone, Terrance. Responsible. You were not responsible for anything more than, matter of fact, you couldn't help your community staying in that same space. You had to uplift in order to outgrow. This idea that we got to keep it real by staying in the hood and we all just gonna be broke as hell and but we together, fuck that. It's time. You have to elevate yourself, take as many as you can with you. Everybody not gonna go though. Everybody's not gonna go, and you cannot blame yourself for that. Continue to love, continue to spread the message of uplifting and outpouring. But other than another man's decision, because of what's been embedded in him or her to not leave, you can't be responsible for that. I'm not gonna let you own that at all.
Yeah, no, not only do I not own it, but I understand Phil's question too, because there is some ownership on my behalf as far as I did exasperate gang violence. I was a violent young man.
That's the part 2 we got to get to, right, Phil? I got to hear the part 2.
But as far now that I will take some ownership in, but them brothers making those moves, man, there's nothing I could. If I would have tried to stay in there and fight, man, them brothers would have had me. They would have had a bag over my head. I would have been in a garbage can. I wouldn't have lasted 2 weeks. They would have told me to come to the alley and come smoke a blunt. They would have shot me in the head. So the police are very, very powerful force, man. The American government has destroyed nations We've crippled democracies. You know what I'm saying? We've destroyed ISIS's and all kinds of different parliaments. The American government has done a genocide on Native Americans. They enslaved African Americans. We're talking about the most powerful, systematic murdering machine ever on earth. There's nothing I could do other than get away from them brothers, get with some kids, and just grow our own seeds, man. If you can't own the forest, man, sometimes you just got to go plant your own garden and eat off your own garden. And that's what I decided to do, man. Me and those babies, we just let them have south of 33rd, and we had north of 33rd. And that was the play, man. And the ones who was Bloods and Crips, and they wanted to come respect the space and respect what we was doing, then they were welcome to come over there too. The ones who was laughing and thought it was funny, that's cool. Just laugh 50 yards away, homie, because ain't nobody, we ain't scared of nobody either, because that's the problem too. The problem is lack of Black leadership, and the problem is we got too many cowards out here, man, trying to act like they leaders, man. You scared to go talk to Crips, but you acting like you leading the East Side. Get out of here. We got too many cats who's trying to get on the news and not trying to really bring youth centers. So that's my movement, man, and it gets me in a lot of trouble. You said earlier, Toy, that I got the ear of some people and how do we leverage that. A lot of people don't want to hear from me. A lot of people with money don't actually like Terrance Roberts for these types of interviews that I'm doing right now. So then some do, but the tables are definitely going to turn, and we could talk about these tables turning in part 2, because there are some of us, we gonna get to the bag too. We still got some fight left in us. A boxing match is 12 rounds. We in round 4 or 5 right now. We still got some rounds to go. I'm only 44. I'm hoping to live to be 100. So get used to me. I'm gonna be here and I'm gonna be saying exactly what I'm saying. So there's that.
So what we do when we wrap up, you know what I mean? We usually do our, we count to 3 and we do our snaps. All right. So 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Hey T, I sure do appreciate you again, man, for tapping in with us.
Of course.
I'm gonna link up with you just so we can go ahead and get this part 2 scheduled. It's gonna be after June 8th. That's when, because this is our pilot. It's our pilot program, so it'll be after June 8th. But man, I sure do appreciate it, and I'm looking forward to that second part.
Hey, Phil, Day, YT, Toy, everybody listening, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for giving me some of your time. Your time is valuable. Your life is valuable. Your time is your life. So I just appreciate it. One love, one tribe. Get with me, man. I'm down to help. If I can help, call me. If I can't, I'll let you know.
Already.
All right. God bless.
Peace.